about a couple of issues. Number one is Derech Halimut. Speak about it a lot, but I think it was very important to speak about it again, and especially Derech Halimut of Halacha. I met Rabbi Badner, Pinchas Badner in the Coastal today. He's going to come next week to speak for us, Shazak Hashem. And I asked him about being a posek. He said, "Well, I can't tell you I'm not a posek." I said, "But the Rav, many people rely on the Rav's Svarim of Psak. The posek you have to know Kol Torah Kula. Because Rav Moshe was a posek, Rav Shlomo Zalman was a posek. Okay, look, the more people you meet, the more definitions you're going to get what a posek is. L'maisa, shilas are being asked every day to Rabbanim, right? Is he a posek? Not a posek? He's a decider of halachic issues, right? I have a whole group of friends who run this Insta-Psak. They get 100 shilas a day. They send them out, like in the coffee, right? What exactly is a posek, not a posek? I don't want to get into that now, right? We're trying to define a derech of limud that you could become a posek if you excel in that derech of limud, right? That's the goal of the kol. Now, in order to do that, I'll tell you as follows. It's a medrash in Koheles. I looked it up. It's Tes Zayin. I think it is Tes Zayin. It's in Koheles, yeah? It says, Elef nechnasu lebeis medrash, Elef yotzi l'roa. It says, Elef yotzi l'mishnah, Elef yotzi l'mikra, Mea yotzi l'mishnah, Elef yotzi l'talmud. Only 10. I'm getting Hebrew. Right? 1,000 learn mikra, Chumash, Tanakh. 100 learn Mishnah properly, 10 learn Gemara, and 1 is Yotz L'Ra. Right? So one's Yotz L'Ra. Right? One of my favorite lines that Rav Sternbach told me once, he said about the Meir Shapiro, right? In his Chochmei L'Bilin, he said there's 400 Talmidim in the yeshiva. He said one will be a gadol, and 399 will know what a gadol is. Yeah? 399 will know what a gadol is. That's very important. People think today the gadol is whoever gets the most hits on YouTube or Turning Time. Like gadol. If you have 10,000 hits, then 1,000, 110. So, but that's not. What? So who's a posek? And what do you have to do to be a posek? So the first thing you have to do, which is pashut, is you have to learn the sukkah b'yir, right? If you're going to learn shetriya, if you're not going to ask the questions that need to be asked, now the achronim, right? The Gedolim achronim, they can help us very much to know what are the good questions. But there's very different questions that Halacha Rishonim and Achronim will ask, and that Gemara Achronim and Rishonim will ask. A lot of times you see the Rishonim all asking the same question, right? And then, when it comes to Sugya, they're asking a different question. You kind of to learn Halacha properly. I remember when Medrash Shmuel just started. Do we have anyone Medrash Shmuel left? Okay. When Medrash Shmuel just started, my brother was there. There was 25 guys there. And I went to a shmuz. It was one of the first zmanim they started. And Rabbi Yamin Moskowitz said he got a call from a mother about her son who was 18, 19. I want him home immediately. Right? Why? Because these are the primary years for maths, plural. I guess they're learning calculus also. And your mind becomes shaped in a certain way. And if you lose these years, then you lost a lot. Yeah. So he says the same thing about learning. Your mind has to be molded. Right? When you're learning halacha l'maisa, you have to know which question should I ask, which question should I ask. What is going to be nogea to the sof davar, to get the pasha pshat, like we spoke about today. That's just pasha pshat. Machlokes Yehuda or Shimon. You have to understand that, yeah, right. But l'maisa, a question that a lot of achronim will ask on a sugya mitzad shmaitza, mitzad learning, is not necessarily the Chasam Sofer could answer any shayla right away, and they asked him, "How do you do that?" He writes in his sefer, by the way, that in every door there's one person who's nilim Shemayim to answer all the shaylas. The door, and that was him. He knew it was him. Yeah, he said, when I'm learning the sugya, I try to think of the shaylas of Maisa, and that when it comes up, then I know. Yeah, when it comes up, they know. So you have to learn the sugya well. That's number one. Yeah, you have to tour Beis Yosef, Shulchan Aruch, Yosef Kalim. You have to learn it well, and it has to be shatuf. And you have to understand what they're saying. Right? You have to understand what they're saying. The goal really, which I would like, at least in Kol, by the time you finish the sugya, you should have a certain mahal. When I learned the last sugya, it was very borrowed to me, Pshat and the Rajba, like the Mas Binyan. When I saw the Mas Binyan, I wanted to sing and dance. It was clear to me. What the Taz and the Shach are saying, I was troubled by it. Now look, I'm a vatal daiti to the Taz and Shach, look, they say, and the post are going to take Yan and have some ruba. But you have to have an understanding of the sugya. Rav Weber told me this, and other posts have told me this many times. There's Netias Dasa Adam. And he told me this morning. I was speaking to Rabbi Badner, and he was asking me, he told me, he spoke to Rosh Shlomo Zalman Auerbach about a certain chiddush he had in Shlokos. He says, Nitiyas Taiti. Rav Shlomo Zalman said that's Nitiyas Taiti. That's Nitiyas Taiti in the Sugya. Yesh Kazet Davar. As long as you're trained, like we said from Moskowitz, your brain has to be trained. I think my Rosh Kol did Shimush with Rabbi Yosef many years. Yeah, before he became so dispassionate, and he used to go to Erev Shabbos and sit by him for an hour or two, and he told him a strong svara could be machriya d'Rabbanan, but you have to know what a strong svara is, right? And for that, really, you need Shimush. Yeah, I went on Tuesday to Rabbi Israel, and it's ready. Apparently he's 85 and he doesn't go to the base hora anymore, and so get to buy a vegan, get back. It took me an hour and a half to get back, right? But I asked him one question and he told me an answer. And I was so blown away by it, right? I wrote a whole article for the Ated based on that one thing that he said, yeah? And it teaches you a glat istaklis in halacha, like what's called a glat l'svara. Yeah, what's called a glat l'svara. I remember when I went to ask when I was 4 years old, I was Sikh Shleski, and one day I asked 3 Rabbanim about learning Halacha Biyun, right? First I asked Moshe Shapiro. He said, Levi das maras nafsho. He says, you know what to do, you just have to do it. Okay, that was nice. Didn't help so much. Then I asked Rav Scheinberg. Rav Scheinberg said, it says years and years and years to say it's Svari Shara. Years and years and years. I can remember his whole body shaking. But you get Svari Shara, number one, by learning the Gedolim Achronim and trying to understand what they're saying, yeah, to keep where they're going. And number two, by sitting. Now, real Shimush means you go to a Rav, and hopefully he'll give you the time. You go through your Mahalach and the Sugya, and it's a glad, right? Remember, I gave a shir at the beginning of the summer about the kavish by the watermelon, and I spoke to Rav Svani for 5 seconds. And he said, kavish mekilim. And I realized there's a whole dim in the Sugya, and I had to relearn the whole Sugya because of those few words, right? So, am I going in the right direction? Rav Rimei Kaganov told me from the Avnei Malum, I saw inside once, he writes, Yegila Roa is when you mechaven consistently the Soros of Gedolim Poskim. That's called Magia La Roa. Of course, you have to know the information, that's for sure. But, when a Shiloh is going to come to you, what's your Gisha? How are you going to approach it? How are you going to take it apart? Right? That's also another part of Hora, right? A question comes to you, how do you understand it? Where do you start from? Where do you break it down? How do you look at it? Right? Okay. Which Svarim do you look at? Okay, that's also. Right? And then, of course, okay, that's it. Now, that's for Iyud. But what about Bakiyas? You have to have ideas and everything, right? Because questions will come to you everywhere. Not only that, but, right, Aniyah b'makam echad v'ashir makam acher, right? If you don't know all of halacha, the clone that come up, Sveik Sveika, right? If you look at Sveik Sveika in Encyclopedia Talmudim, I'm sure they'll have like 100 entries, The Sveik Sveika in Brachos, and the Sveik Sveika in this, and Sveik Sveika by Dalaminim, and it comes up all over the place, right? To really understand, you have to have a hekef, right? He told me that once, or shouldn't think it. He said the yofi of Ian is bekiyas. You know a lot more, and you have a harchava, so you have to have that. Okay, so look, you have to have a good Ian Seder, which is let's say 5 hours, 9:30 to 1:30, and then from 2:40 to 4:30, maybe 5:30 if it's Sveik Sveika. You have to have that. You have to have bekiyas, and you have to have musar. If you're not learning musar, then forget about it. You need to have your Shemaim. So that basically covers the whole day. But Lamaisa, it's not enough to become a posik. People say, the cold can't change book. It's true. Unless you're going to put in more time, right? Number one, most importantly, do a lot of chazaras, and get it clear, and write it up. Yeah? If you don't write it up, right? I quote this all the time, the Gemara in Tainis. The Gemara in Tainis says, Imroi Talmud Shalimudu Kashalo, Shalosida Mishnas. If you don't write it up, right, how you understood the sugya, how it connects to you, and then you won't have it clear. In a month, you're going to forget it. I was in Manhattan, and someone asked me to say a shir in Bora, and I hadn't learned for 10 years. I got up and I said it. I remember, because when I learned it, I was Masader it. Yeah? If you're not Masader, you're going to lose it. For me, if I don't write a tshuva, I lost it. Right? If I write a tshuva, I'm forced to clarify the stadim, and they go through it, and then, weigh it up, clarify the rishonim, come out with a psak. If I don't write a tshuva, then I'm forgetting it. Yeah? Each person has it. The disciple said giving a shir is like 20 times chazara. You have to know what works for you. You have to know what's available. I told you, I used to travel to Rampei Shemesh once a week to say a shir. One guy who falls asleep, it's not so easy. But that's the point. The point is that if you really want to be a posik, you have to do more than we're doing. I admit that. Yeah. Now, if we're going to put everything that you need to do in the Seder, then we'll have to be here until 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm all right. If people want to stay, we can try to work it out. But Lamaisa, and it's also, that's number one. Number two is some people will not get such a geschmack from chazering something over and over and over again. Yeah. In my previous call, we had a seder, 2 hours at the end. We used to do Beis Yosef over and over and over. I personally, it doesn't connect to me. You have to know how to do chazara, how to make it stick, which svarim to use, how to do it, write it up, give a shir. Each person is different. So there are going to be extra things that you need to do in order to really be successful here, right? You take a guy like Yitzhak Goldberg, he's giving the shir now. He was in the kollel 17, 18 years ago, maybe 19. Yeah. Today, Lamaisi is a big post. But he's paskening. Yeah. He's paskening. He does Shimush with Berkowitz every single day. He's giving a shir in Chosh Mishpat and Kav Halacha, right? It's only because, look, he did Kinyan Hashas and Kinyan Yushalmi, Babel Yushalmi, and also all of Shulchan Aruch, yeah, or Chaim Yoredea, right? But that's Tosefes, right? The program here does not claim and can't. There's not enough hours in the day for that, yeah? We're focusing on the main things. So everyone has maybe we should do this, or we should do this, or maybe we shouldn't do this, or maybe we shouldn't do this, right? Those are the things that we're focusing on. That's really, really important. Okay.